Welcome back, everyone. I hope you really enjoyed the masterclasses. And I'm sure some of you are now suffering from FOMO, right? You only got to choose one and you're wondering what happened during the other two. Well, rest assured, Channable also recorded all 3 of these masterclasses, and we'll be sharing links with you so that you can also see what you missed in the meantime. Right. But remember, keynotes, masterclasses, and roundtable discussion. Well, somehow the roundtable became somewhat squared, but that doesn't mean the discussion will be squared. It's going to be lively because we're going to talk about current challenges and also about the future of online advertising. I'm going to touch on those subjects with 3 experts. Let me take some time to introduce them to you. On my right is Annabelle van Lieshout, Senior Ad Sales Manager at Amazon. Hey, Annabelle.
Hi, good to be here.
Thank you for joining me in my new living room.
It's definitely cozy.
It is cozy, yes. And you've been with for 3 years of experience in the Benelux market for Amazon.
Yeah.
And before that, also in the digital space?
Yes, actually always in digital advertising.
Right.
So before this, I was at Meta at their headquarters in Dublin. I've also been at the agency side and more sort of the tech startup side, but always from the tech POV. So that's what I will bring today.
Yeah, always a techie.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Sitting next to you, Sander Domburg, an SEA specialist from Neosam.
Yeah, that's right. Thanks for the introduction. It's great to be here with such a great panel.
It is, yeah. And I also looked at your biography, of course, and I couldn't help but notice your thesis. The topic was the death of third-party cookies.
That's correct.
Wow.
It's of course still a very relevant topic. Google has announced like a couple months ago that they will stop the sunset of third-party cookies.
Yeah.
So we don't exactly know what the future will hold. But with the European Union still introducing new laws to protect privacy online from consumers, I think it will still be a very relevant thesis for the next couple of years.
Absolutely, yeah. And when did you write it?
It's been 3 years ago now.
Ah, okay, yeah. Well, it's more relevant than ever. So
Definitely.
good to have you with us. And next to you, a familiar face, Jochem Timmers, a product lead for ads at Channable. I always like to call you Mr. PPC, if you don't mind.
Yeah, you can do that.
Is that also your domain?
Yeah, that's definitely my domain.
Yeah.
At least within Channable, the PPC tool. PPC is a bit of an old name, but yeah, it's still known in the industry, of course.
Have you thought of a new name then? To rebrand PPC.
Yeah,
right?
maybe Performance Max Team or something.
That's always good. Yeah, take it to the max. Yeah, well, as I said, together we'll talk about several subjects. But Jochem, I want to stay with you because there's so much going on, right? AI is the buzzword not only in the chat, but also big companies are investing lots of money in it, and it's not just talking; it's actual applications. We talk about Chinese web shops, Temu. We talk about TikTok, perhaps being banned in the US. What's going on in the digital realm?
Yeah, it's kind of a big space. So yeah, maybe I can't mention all the details, of course, because like changes are happening almost every week, every day, I assume. But yeah, indeed, if you zoom out, and that's also what my colleague Margareta did at the beginning of today, is if you zoom out, you really see that there used to be these clear boundaries between Amazon, Google, and Meta, and that all changed, of course. So the lines between search, commerce, and social are really getting blurred.
Lines are blurring.
And,
yep.
Yeah, and Margareta already gave a good example of how that works for marketplaces, how that's getting blurred. But yeah, for example, if you look at Google, then I read an article about it last week even, that Gen Z, they are not even Googling anymore. They're not using that verb Googling.
And it's using the word. Okay.
Yeah, so it's quite strange to me at least, because I Googled my entire life. Sure. But they basically search, and they search directly at the source. So if they need a new product, they might go to Amazon directly and buy it from there. If they are looking for restaurant recommendations, they might do that even within a social media platform where they get recommendations from friends.
Sure. Or in-app searches like TikTok.
Yeah, indeed. Like TikTok, I saw it this morning or yesterday that they in the US they now also have search advertising. So that is also a sign indeed that people search there, because otherwise no one is advertising, of course.
Indeed, yeah.
And you mentioned TikTok at the beginning as well. That's definitely a good platform where you see those blurring lines. It's definitely not only a social platform anymore. They, for example, they're also building fulfillment centers now. Last week they announced a partnership. I think it's quite a huge partnership with Amazon, even where you can actually you see something on TikTok, influencer wearing something, and you buy it directly in the app and gets delivered by Amazon Prime.
The lines are blurring, and I must say, I really felt like a boomer the other day when I called TikTok social media. It's just a huge app that a lot of people use for many different things, right?
Definitely, yeah. You see that happening, but at the same time, you also mentioned that it potentially gets blocked, for example, in the US, and I don't know what's going to happen there, but for sure that the way that people are using social media apps and the way they search and shop, that definitely changed. Yeah. And for example, you see now YouTube, Meta, they're copying that, of course, with Reels for Instagram and stories for YouTube.
They're copying.
Yeah, they're copying it.
The Chinese app. Yeah, so ironic. Yeah. What about PMax?
Yeah, I think for advertisers, there also a lot of changed if consumers shop differently. And clear trend that you're seeing is the PMax trend, of course. I think I don't have to explain that to the audience, but basically what you see is that there's getting a lot of new placements, for example, shorts for Google, but also a lot of other placements, and those campaigns solve the pain of that you need to create a campaign for each different placement. You can just create one campaign, and for example PMax, but also Meta created Advantage Plus, Amazon launched Performance Plus.
Performance Plus, yeah.
TikTok is even working on what's called
PMax.
Another PMax. Pinterest is working on it, and basically all platforms are working on that. So definitely the new big thing.
Is. Yeah. Just to make sure, today is not brought to you by TikTok. We are not affiliated. So, Annabel, during Margrethe's keynote, she talked about retail media. And one of the questions was, is this nice to have or a must have? Well, she was very clear about that. I'm curious to hear your opinion on the role of retail media in today's digital marketing landscape.
Yes, and I saw that bit and I was very enthusiastic when she said it's a must. Yes. Because that's also really the trend that we're seeing. So overall, retail media is really growing, and we expect it to grow even more exponentially in the next years. Yeah. And this is really because shoppers in general, but even people, are moving more online. And so brands are following where shoppers are. And this is increasingly online. Yeah. And for shoppers, especially if you're an endemic brand or selling your product on a retail space, it's very crucial to be where the customer is, and even also very relevant because you want to be there where they make the actual shopping decision.
Fish where the fish are.
Exactly. You can compare it to a big pond indeed. But I always like to maybe start with a definition of retail media because it's a term often used, but it can be defined a bit differently. But retail media refers to the actual ads that are the inventory on a retail media's network that can be used by third-party businesses to reach the relevant audiences and then make use of all the data that the retailer, of course, has on shopping signals. But we mentioned also creating like one big app. For example, on Amazon, we also combine that with Prime Video data, Twitch data to make to actually give the advertiser or give the business a lot of data to work with. So increasingly online, that's what retail media really is. So increasingly shopping online. And you can also compare it maybe a bit with your digital shelf, where you would have, if you walk in any random supermarket nowadays, you see a lot of promos, you see POS. Discounts, you see a lot happening there. And that's exactly with the retail media. So making sure you're relevant, reaching a very attentive audience.
Yeah, dynamic pricing maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's much more to talk about on the landscape. What else?
Yeah, there's a lot going on, and there's also several challenges, of course, that come with that. I think also good to address. So first one is the fact that I think the most top of mind, and I think the biggest one to maybe address if you're a business watching now today, is the fact that, and not only retail media, also maybe online advertising or media in general, is that for specifically budgets are planned in silos. And this is the case with retail media even more so.
Budgets are planned in silos.
Yes.
Like different departments within an organization.
Exactly. So let's take the example for online retail media. That's often a very different team with a very different objective and different budgets than, for example, the offline sales team.
Sure.
So then you get very, like if they're not aligning very well, you get sometimes a very inconsistent customer experience because they are not being followed up. And so this is exactly what can lead to maybe an inconsistent customer experience online, whereas the customer does expect a seamless experience from one brand. So that's definitely a big challenge that it needs to be addressed. And if we can break those silos and unify data, then I think we're on making such a great step in the right direction. Yeah. Other challenge is the evolving ad addressability, making it difficult to combine first party with third party data. I think with, for example, holistic measurement is something that not everyone is doing. We're trying to solve for that with our privacy-safe clean room solution, Amazon Marketing Cloud.
Holistic measuring?
Yes.
Yeah. Is that like master data management?
It's a bit like measuring. So as we mentioned, the online advertising landscape is very fragmented.
Yep.
And you want to, of course, measure across the funnel, so lower funnel budgets and campaigns. With upper funnel budgets, maybe you have some consideration also happening and you're investing in. So holistically across different media objectives and campaign objectives, but also holistic across different channels and advertising solutions. So the example that we have in the Amazon Marketing Cloud is that you can combine let's take the example, you're a sneaker seller and you're selling on Amazon, then you can take all of the data that exists there. So your shopping data that you're maybe promoting with sponsored ads. So those are the ads that are appearing on the Amazon NL website, for example. Combining that with your own first party data. So let's say this sneaker brand has a very popular mailing list and has very like a relevant audience. They can combine that with the data and then actually being able to create and custom insights and custom audiences. So for example, if they know that a new sneaker is launching soon, actually know which people are frequent sneaker buyers, which ones are early adopters, because that's also something you can see in the data. And then following that up, making a very relevant audience of maybe the most frequent buyers, the early adopters, and then targeting those with those ads. I think that can be very interesting.
Sure, you bring together different data sets.
Yeah.
And it's within the, what cloud was it?
It's the Amazon Marketing Cloud. So, but of course, there are also many other data clean rooms, but that's one of the ways we try to solve for this particular challenge. And then we mentioned it before, it's also the fragmented landscape and the fact that brand growth is named as one of the very important criteria or goals of 2024, probably also still in 2025. But then we mentioned holistic measurement. That's not always done. Actually, only 50% of the marketeers say that they do more holistic measurement, which creates a bit of a sort of a mismatch, of course, and a difficulty to bring everyone together in the already fragmented landscape that there is today.
But it isn't hard to measure. There are actually standards how you can do so.
It is still like a challenging. It's still challenging to measure, but there are solutions, and a lot of companies like Amazon are working on solutions for this. But you have to invest the time, of course. To go really deeper into it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for taking the time to actually explain this to us. It's really helpful. Let's talk about search engine advertising.
Yes, sir.
What are the trends right now in your world?
So there's so many trends happening right now.
Yeah.
Some of them are already happening like for multiple years. Some are coming up and disappearing fast. For example, one thing that comes to mind, earlier this year on TikTok, you had like Brazilian marketing, which was a trend for like 2 weeks and then it disappeared again.
What marketing?
Brazilian marketing, which is
marketing.
like just the surprise effect.
Oh,
You have to see it to understand it, but it's fine.
I get it.
It's very interesting. And there's a couple of trends coming to mind for me right now. And what's actually funny, I've been watching a lot of presentations today, and a lot of the things that come to mind for me as a Google Ads specialist has also been talked about for marketplaces, for social advertising.
Yeah.
So it actually just goes to show how much omni-channel strategies are becoming so important right now. Because the things I've been struggling with as a Google Ads specialist,
Right.
and trends I've been seeing are also things I've been seeing on other platforms, like in the talks today. And the first major trend that comes to mind for me has to be automation. Over the last couple of years, we've really seen a shift in Google Ads from doing things manually to letting algorithms and machine learning doing the work for you. Like you just talked about, Performance Max is one thing that's come to mind immediately for Google Ads.
Right.
New campaign types like demand gen, Google integrating video action campaigns next year into demand gen. And even years back, we already started with broad keywords and with responsive search ads. So automation has been a trend that's been happening for years.
Yeah.
And I think it's only becoming bigger and bigger. Another trend that's coming to mind for me is generative AI. How can we not talk about it?
We should.
It makes it so much easier for any marketeer to just set up at least half decent content or even great content if you just give the right prompts. And it also even allows you to set up entire campaigns. It can give you strategies. It can help you so much and really make it easy for you. And the last trend has to be personalization, where like 5 or 10 years ago, you could just use your TV advertisement on YouTube, on TikTok, on Facebook. You really see nowadays that it just doesn't convert that much. People want an advertisement that's personal to them, that they really can connect with, that really talks about their personal problems and not just something generic.
Right.
And you also see that in Google Ads. Your product really needs to solve a specific problem for your client or for your customer. And you really need to make sure that when a customer lands on your website, the landing page needs to hold all the relevant information. It needs to be easy for them to convert. You don't want 10 different steps in the checkout.
Sure.
That's a bunch of things that like it needs to be personal, it needs to be relevant.
Yeah.
That's a big trend we see.
Yeah. When I was in search engine marketing, this is very long ago, we had to manually type in all the ads and you had dynamic keywords. There was one. And now you're saying that AI can actually generate the ads itself?
Yes, we've seen.
Is it already there or are we moving towards that?
Performance Max has just started integrating AI in it. It's becoming more and more relevant, of course.
Are you using it?
I've been using it a little bit, but like, of course, I've been more experienced in the field, so I know how to do things. But if you're just starting, it's way easier now to get relevant content, relevant headlines, relevant descriptions for your advertisements, thanks to these AI-powered tools.
Yeah. And also what you started, did talk about generative AI. I'm very curious because Google, of course, has their own model, Gemini. They're also trying to include it in search. This has tremendous impact on the ads as well.
Definitely.
What are your thoughts or predictions on that?
My predictions is that you as a performance marketeer will really need to shift your focus on like the website, make sure that the relevant information is there, because AI will look at the information on your website, on the information you provide, and really make sure that the results you get on Gemini, the results you get on ChatGPT, et cetera, will be as relevant as possible.
Yeah.
And if you can't no longer rely on proper performance marketing to get the most relevant clients to your customer, to your website.
That's so instead of search engine optimization, we get large language model optimization.
Pretty much, yes.
Yeah.
And it starts at the website.
Yeah, that's the main entrance. Okay. Yeah. And are these also some challenges that your clients are already facing, or is it just you looking forward into time?
For Gemini and such, it's not really something that clients are facing yet.
Not on the agenda.
We are, of course, preparing for the future.
What is the challenge of your customers?
For now, the main challenge we've been seeing past COVID has to be differentiation. How do you as a company differentiate yourself from the competition? most companies, of course, want more market share, more revenue. That's one of the main KPIs for a lot of companies. And in the past years, we've been doing that for our clients and other companies as well, by, for example, reducing shipping times, making shipping free from a low price point, adding pay later options, increasing the return policy, making returns free, dropping the prices. But we're now at a point where you kind of get stuck with that because every single competitor has done the same.
Sure.
They have all added those options. They've all dropped the price to the lowest possible option while still being profitable, of course.
Hopefully,
At least you hope so.
Yeah.
So there's now no longer USPs, no longer unique selling points by just being cheap, by just delivering fast. And you now have to find out what is an advantage for your potential customer.
Yeah.
Why would a customer buy at your webshop instead of the competition? That's a big question right now.
Measurement would be the answer.
It can help, definitely.
Yeah,
it
sure.
can help give you valuable insights.
Yeah.
And also another part, of course, more from the marketeer perspective is with AI and machine learning coming in, you see that things are becoming more and more standardized. It's easier for your competitor to also have great performance marketing.
Yeah.
So the same thing there. How do you differentiate yourself from your competitor? Well, the competitor is also doing everything very well. There's some real struggles for us.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it also begs the question, Jochem, looking at you right now, brands, they're using everything they got, throwing everything against the wall to see what sticks. Should you go all in on all these channels? Should you combine them all?
Yeah, actually there are a lot of channels. So the advice to be active on all of them. I think only a few brands maybe do that.
Okay.
But of course the big ones like Amazon, Meta, Google, of course, and maybe some local marketplace in your own country, for example, or in your own niche. That can definitely work. I think the general advice is always like start with one, do that really well, and then only then expand. Because, for example, we saw the success formula for marketplaces in Margaretha's presentation, but similar success formula also can work for Google or other platforms. So start with one and then scale up.
Yeah.
And also like maybe explaining it with like a personal example. Why you should be on multiple ones is that, for example, end of this year, me and my girlfriend, we are expecting our first child. So really looking forward to that.
Yeah.
But
amazing.
you can imagine that we need to buy.
Now I know why you're smiling all the time.
Yeah, that's it. It's not all the innovation stuff. No, it's only this.
Cool, yeah.
No, but of course you need to buy a lot of stuff. And for example, personally, I made a mood board on Pinterest for the baby room.
Sure.
I did some research on YouTube for which stroller I needed to buy.
Yep.
And I think I bought a book on the marketplace based on recensions, the reviews.
Sure.
On like how to be a good dad.
Yeah.
So as you can see, there's only me, and I'm active on multiple channels for only like this one moment. So yeah. That's I guess answers why you should be active on more.
Because we have multi-channel customers.
Exactly.
Yeah. But not everyone has a budget like Meta or Google.
Yeah.
What about advertisers or brands that have tighter budgets?
Tighter budgets. Yeah, it's a good one. I think in general, like what we see for those brands that works is like using one of those smart campaign types. I think in general they work quite well for smaller brands, where you actually like, I think the cool thing is that most of those platforms also use an e-commerce product feed, and if you optimize that well, then you can already have quite a good success with those campaign types. But similarly to make them to work for you, they also need like 30 conversions a month at least, some even more. So you need to at least have some budget to be active on that. And if you then want to scale up, like let's say you're aiming for 100+ conversions a month, then we see that you can really have a good success with like more advanced strategies. And Thomas, for example, presented it about Bol and how you can do that for Amazon with like an advanced strategy in his breakout session. But yeah, similar thing works for Google as well, where you can really split up your products, for example, based on performance, and then have one campaign that boosts your best performing products and has a lot of budget, and another one for like the low margin products, for example. So you have more control on this so-called black boxes.
Yeah.
And similarly, like for example, PMax, you can add like creatives to them. And you can do that, of course, like just for your main categories. But if you're an e-commerce brand, you usually have like sub categories. And that usually is a lot of work to do that.
Yep.
So therefore, we're also, for example, building tooling that you can create those creatives at that level. So you really, you can really work on like hyper-personalized ads within these smart campaign types. So balancing the mix between control and using those smart campaign types. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Smart automation.
Exactly.
Yeah. Cool. Annabelle, we talked about the evolving landscape quite a bit right now. When do you think customers should turn to retail media advertising?
Yes. I think, earlier today, and I hope with my answer just now, I think I've shown that retail media is in fact for everyone.
Yeah.
And that's also the trend, must have, yes,
Yeah.
that's the name mentioned today. I think also this reflects in the trend that we're seeing, that currently, of course, a lot of endemic clients are dominating the retail media space and also the retail media budgets globally. But we're seeing more non-endemics enter that space as well. So clients that are, for example, fall within the telco or entertainment vertical, that are not selling their maybe physical product online, they're finding more and more online retail media as an option because, as I mentioned, shoppers are moving there.
Yep.
And also with that comes the fact that, of course, retail media is very good for creating or being there lower in the funnel, converting customers, making the sales, getting your ROAS and getting your hitting your sales targets, your monthly and weekly sales targets. But it's also becoming more about creating a full brand experience. And then we go back to those silos that if you have tried to align that, or if you have tried to unify those different teams are working together as one, then you can also create a really powerful brand experience that then is followed up with sales. And a great example for this is this year still, so in Q4, Amazon has, for the US store, has a strategic partnership with Hyundai for them to be the first brand to be bought online. So the first one to be bought on a retail media network. I think that's quite cool.
Wow.
And so this will also help customers bring another part of that shopping experience and that life experience. Maybe you need, family car now that you have a kid on the way. So maybe you can do that even online in the next few years here in the Benelux as well.
Yeah.
But customers, where they're able in their trusted Amazon environment, where they also buy their other stuff, to then find different, in this case, Hyundai cars, look for different features, different models, different trims, actually also make the payment online. So using the payment options or financing options that exist for it, and then decide to pick it up or get it delivered at their local dealership, all online. So I think that's one great example of a brand experience also with lower funnel. And that is a bit of the trend we're seeing. But to summarize, I think retail media is for everyone, and not only if you're selling there on that specific retail media site with your brand.
Yeah. Well, would you buy a car online?
I don't think so. I would like to drive it first.
Hyundai, come on. No, any car?
Any car. Yeah, maybe if it has a huge discount.
Right, for the right price. Price. But you probably go out there to experience it in real life and then go.
Yeah, if I can also ship it back, then it will be.
Okay.
We of course also said the same thing about buying furniture, for example, 10 years ago. We went buy it online, or clothing, and now we start moving towards it. So you never know what happens in the future.
That's true. Yeah. And Sander, we've heard Jochem talk about the changing landscape, Annabelle about the digital digital landscape. I'm going to ask a strategy question to you because I know you love strategy. Mm-hmm. You eat it for breakfast, I was told. The question is, where would you advise a retailer with a larger product portfolio to allocate their budget next year to maximize ROI?
It's actually kind of a tough question. I think there's an easy answer to that and a hard answer.
Let's start with the easy one.
Always. The easy answer for me would be brands always. It would be best to focus on social media. For retailers with like strong USPs, in my opinion, it would be best to focus on Google Ads. And for retailers with like a low price point, it would be best to focus on retail and marketplaces.
Right.
But that would be the easy answer.
Okay.
What I always tend to do with my clients when they first come to our company is to actually check, okay, what does the competition do? Yeah. Where are the competitors strong at? For example, if you notice that the competition has like 8 out of the top 10 positions in Google Shopping, you know that if you want to get your product in between there, you're going to have to spend a lot of budget. It's going to come at a high cost of CPC. So you might be better off actually moving your budget towards social media because maybe your competitors don't have a large presence there.
Okay.
Same thing can go for retail media. And that can go the other way around as well, of course. If your competitors are strong on Amazon, maybe you're better off on Google.
Right.
So the most important thing for me would be to actually find your own niche, find your own target audience, and really focus on that. That's the best advice I can give.
Yeah.
And another advice I can definitely give is just don't focus blindly on return on investment. Because what we've seen a lot of the last couple of years, as the online performance marketing level market starts to level, as everybody gets better and better, focusing on return on investment tends to really get you a short-term profitability. But in the long run, it most of the time tends to result in loss of market share, which is something you obviously don't want.
It's a race to the bottom if everyone...
It can definitely be a race to the bottom if you just focus only on return on investment and not on other KPIs. Right.
Actually spoken as a marketeer, you are explaining to your customers how they can stand out and then see what they can do on advertising spend or something. Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay. Annabel, I'm going to ask you sort of the same question. How can a retailer or brand maximize their budgets on retail media and marketing in general?
Yeah. Not to repeat myself too much, but again, this goes back to indeed breaking the silos. Because if you can create synergy between your lower funnel and your upper funnel campaigns, that's where you really maximize the budgets, in my opinion.
Right.
Because then, for example, we also have a Twitch, which is globally the world's largest live streaming platform owned by Amazon. And we see that a lot of customers in the Benelux, but also the businesses are finding it specifically for reaching that hard to target Gen Z audience. Yeah. And there's been a lot of great campaigns on there. But then if you really, made that audience a bit warm, if they understand your brand message, but then if that is a job done by the brand team, and then, for example, they're not followed up at all with your actual sale, right. Or leading them to a product information and then an offline sale, because that's of course also possible. Then you missed like such a chance to follow them up, and we've seen that there's a fragmented landscape, and we've seen that the journey of customer journey is becoming more complex. Right. So trying to create that synergy as much as possible, making sure to follow up in that funnel and be where customers are every step of the way. I think that's where you can really maximize your budgets.
Interesting. So perhaps that the budgets are in different silos may not be the problem. It's that there needs to be communication, there needs to be strategy, same goals, same purpose.
Yes. So there's different ways that companies approach this. So you can also create more of a one-team strategy. Well, right. This requires, of course, quite a lot of internal restructuring. But another option is to better just align across teams and really making sure that, yes, you have separate budgets, but they're all strengthen each other. Yeah. So how can you work together to eventually make your brand grow?
Yeah. you have an example of, for example, on Amazon side, how a retailer can structure one full funnel online advertising campaign?
Yeah. The first example that comes to mind, because they did it really well, was Whiskas, so the cat food brand.
Yep.
What they
I
did...
didn't think you were going to say Whiskas, but I love it already. Yeah.
Well, you're going to love it more if I tell you what they did, because they, you know, the standard brown Amazon delivery boxes, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So what they did is they really thought creatively and out of the box and decided cats love boxes. I'm not sure if any of you have a cat, but even if you don't, you've seen a lot of cat videos online that they love boxes. They love to sit in it, even if you bought a very expensive cat, bench or bed.
Yeah.
And they wanted to really appeal to a sort of an audience and create a digital buzz. So they worked together with media agency Mediacom and with Amazon Ads to create a very strong brand experience where they sort of pimped actually the Amazon delivery boxes in Whiskas style. Yeah. So with their, famous purple branding.
Sure.
And customers were then encouraged to share that online. There were even people that cut them out and made a whole cat castle from the box. So then customers could also scan QR codes where they could actually see, of course, the product information, but also share with other people online, see what people made out of their cat boxes. So that created a lot of sort of a buzz. So that was great. But also for this specific campaign is that they did create a great one funnel experience, because they then also really were able to positively increase their sales results. So they saw actually a 70% sales uplift in ad attributed sales because of this campaign compared to sort of a control period before. But they also did more lift studies. So it's actually here, I have to say this correctly, because it translated into an ROI of 4.6, while normally sort of the benchmark for that specific vertical is more around 2%. So that's great. But then also from the people that received the boxes, they saw from a survey that they were 5% more likely to consider Whiskas as their next pet food brand. So I think the results speak for themselves, but that's a great example. You can find it online because there has been a lot of attention for it. But that's a great example of really thinking together as teams, creating one funnel campaign. And you see that it also has effect then on your sales, on your actual ROAS.
Amazing example. Yeah. Which just proves my theory that the internet was built with the sole purpose to distribute cat videos. Jochem, as I said, we're not sponsored by TikTok, but still. I'm sure your answer will lead somewhere to TikTok. I want to know, what kind of advertising potential does social media hold compared to retail media or Google, and how do you tackle that effectively as an online marketeer?
Yeah. Then let's not talk about TikTok in this question. But yeah, basically, I think the main, if you look at e-commerce brands, then I think one of the main reasons you would use, for example, Meta advertising, Instagram or Facebook, is to retarget. So it would actually be a waste if you buy a lot of money on people who search on something, click on your ad.
Reach them once.
Yeah, and then lose them. But I think social media offers you the opportunity to retarget them.
Right.
And yeah, of course, social media is also the place where people discover new content in general. So it's also a good place to get your brand discovered. I think specifically for e-commerce, one thing that is really important for social channels is that they basically all support dynamic product ads. And it's quite an easy format, I would say, which usually gives already quite good results by indeed just inserting a product feed, and then the algorithm automatically shows the right product to the right person, basically, basically does all that for you. So I think that's very effective. And what's also kind of cool about it is that you can create creative overlays, for example, on top of your images. And Thomas did a full session about it earlier, before this meeting.
Which Thomas?
Social Thomas. Social Thomas. And I think one thing that he actually announced in that meeting, in that presentation, was background removal. within our tool. And I think that's quite a nice one also for the people that are not focusing on socials, but for example on Google, because creatives are getting also more important on the other channels.
Yeah.
And with tooling like that, you can easily create like a nice overlay for retargeting, but you can use a similar one, for example, in your Performance Max campaigns. And I think that unifying creatives is really can be a hot topic in 2025.
Indeed.
Definitely.
Speaking of 2025, because time flies and there's so much time. I have one question. I'm just going to throw it out there. If we look forward to 2025, perhaps beyond, considering the relentless march of AI, of course, that's very top of mind. What are 1 or 2 predictions that you'd like retailers to keep on their radar? So a sort of final message to our dear audience. Who can I give the word to?
I can go first.
Yeah.
So obviously AI is here to stay. We cannot go around it. It will definitely only grow bigger and bigger.
Right.
And for me personally, the major prediction would be that in 2025, pretty much every company will start using it. We see more and more integrations. We've seen it getting integrated in Performance Max. Amazon is starting to use AI in their tooling. So it's really easily accessible for every single marketer in the world right now.
Yeah.
And it makes it easy to get good content. It can really reduce your workload. But there's also a pretty big danger there, for me personally, because if you just rely on AI for your content, for your strategies, for your campaigns, it will pretty much get standardized, because AI can only rely on the information that already exists, on the input that you provided. So if you just rely on AI to create your campaigns, you will end up with the same campaigns as your competition does.
Can repeat the past or what others have done. Yeah.
Say once again?
Oh, you repeat the past, so historic data, or you repeat what others have done. Yeah.
So you lose your unique selling point to the customer. What makes you unique? Why they should buy from you? So for 2025, I think the main thing that marketers should really focus on is leveraging AI to their advantage, but also keep a human creativity in their marketing and combining them for the perfect strategies.
Nice. I'd like a T-shirt of that quote. Very well done. Yeah. Annabelle, anything to add?
I think from the point of view of retail media, personally, I think that it will undergo a shift from, and I mean, it has already undergone a shift, because we're with retail media went to more action-based audience, where before we really only had online data on interest-based audience. And I think we all like to talk about cats. So taking a cat example again is a lot of people love to watch cat videos, even if they're not pet owners.
Right.
And so I always like to say that it's so much better to predict future behavior if somebody has bought cat food in the past than if maybe you, Jim, are actually watching cat videos on a daily basis. I'm not sure about your social media behavior.
Pretty close. Yeah.
And then the next step is to shift that it will go from targeting based on past purchases towards predicting or more anticipating future customer needs. Right. I think that is where we'll go in retail media. And I'm not going to talk long about it, but we've talked about, our version is Performance Plus. The future is already here today. AI is already here today. We have that live in Benelux right now. Advertisers are using it more, and there's already predictive modeling in it. And then also talked about it a little bit today, is it gets very interesting when you talk about content production, because experts say that just within the next few years, not even 10 years, but the next few years, that the majority of all content will be either created or co-created with AI. And that will give a lot of opportunities to small advertisers who maybe don't have the resources in-house to create lifestyle imaging for their products, but also for the bigger advertisers who want to go for efficiency and automation. And with Amazon, we have generative AI image generator, and that's already in beta for sponsored brands. So that's one of the ad solutions for going live with your ad on Amazon NL. So that is already here, and that will, together with predictive modeling, and then sort of the real-time content creation. I think that will lead to, I think you said it already, sort of hyper-personalized ads.
Yeah.
So really showing that ad that resonates most with you in the location that resonates most with you. So where you are online, showing the product in a way that really feels like, okay, this ad was made for me. And I think that's such a great step we're taking. And in the end, it's all about customer obsession and customer experience. And so if we can improve that, then I think it's only a win.
Nice. We don't have to wait to 2025 to use AI. Jochem, is there anything to add?
Yeah, I think I agree with most that is said. But maybe one trend I'm following closely is the current antitrust lawsuits against platforms like Meta, Google, and even Amazon.
Yeah.
They're really under fire, so not only TikTok. And I think in 2025 that will lead to more transparency, and especially also for those performance max type of campaigns. The big disadvantage of them is that they don't show you don't give you full transparency. And I assume that those companies will be forced to add more transparency to it, which is, I think, a good thing for advertisers.
The benefit of the customers.
Exactly.
Consumers.
Yeah.
Kind of already happening now.
It is already. You see, it's already happening. So
I've given up. I try to talk about the future, but you guys, it's already here. Come on, get with the program. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking the time and sharing your insights with us. With that comes an end also to the round squared table discussion, and we're about to wrap up the Impact Cube of 2024. But not before I say to you that, of course, if you want to know more about the products or the solutions, you can go to channable.com. It is a website. People still use that.